Britain's prime minister seems to be having a change of heart regarding weapons supplies to Syrian opposition. In a BBC interview, David Cameron says he's still committed to helping rebel groups fighting government forces, but that the groups include, in his words, quote, a lot of bad guys. This signals a turnaround from about November 2011, about half a year after the Syrian conflict first started. Back then, Mr. Cameron called on the international community to engage more closely with the Syrian rebels. He upped his appeals for more aid the following year, saying the Syrian regime must feel pressure to be defeated. Fast forward a year, and the rhetoric slightly changes. He's still vehemently anti-Assad, but not so sure anymore that arms shipments are the only way forward. This brings us to today, with Syria's government advancing on rebel militias, the official position failing to unite, and Mr. Cameron describing the situation as a stalemate. Well, let's get more on this from Deepak Tripathi, a political analyst and historian from the University of Roehampton in London. Thank you for joining us here on RT. So the Prime Minister's finally admitted that there is too much extremism among a lot of the rebel factions in Syria right now, something that Russian officials have been saying for some time. What do you think has prompted the evolution of his position here, so to speak?
Over a long period of time, Prime Minister Cameron has faced difficulties both at home and abroad, and the situation is complicated. At home, he will have difficulty getting the Parliament's approval because there is quite a lot of unease after Iraq about getting involved in Syria directly. His coalition partners, the Liberal Democrats, are not supportive. Many of them are not supportive, certainly. And public opinion is not supportive. Abroad, the political landscape has changed. For the first time, it is being realized in the West that no matter how much there are assurances from Western governments that only good guys will get help in terms of arms supplies, but that's not the case on the ground. And Saudi Arabia is very worried about the rise of Islamic fundamentalism in Syria because Jordan and Saudi Arabia are quite close. And Islamic fundamentalism, especially Sunni Islamism, threatens the Saudi royal family.
Now, Cameron says that he could arm Syrian rebels without any kind of vote from Parliament to support that. Do you think that's something that would be well received by the electorate should he go ahead and do that on his own?
Well, he has indicated that, but I don't think his coalition will accept it in general. That is Prime Minister Cameron's own view, but he can't carry the day. Also, he will face serious difficulties because some people, MPs in his own Conservative party, even on the right, are opposed to getting involved in Syria directly in a military. Remind you, the United States and Britain indirectly via Turkey are helping the Syrian rebels. That has not stopped.
So what if the Gulf states, for example, decide on their own to simply fund and give weapons to the Syrian rebels? Do you think that could simply radicalize further radicalize the opposition without any assistance or intervention by developed countries?
Well, the radicalization of Islamist groups in Syria and in Egypt, where a coup has taken place, is already taking place. While there has been a welcome of the coup in Egypt, where Muslim Brotherhood was seen as encouraging Syrian rebels, especially fundamentalists, in recent weeks. That has not stopped. The coup has not stopped radicalization in Egypt. On the contrary, and elsewhere. So I think radicalization is something that is going to be aggravated instead of pacified.
And finally, briefly, if you could, there is an upcoming conference on Syria where it's possible that some kind of solution could be found or further steps could be made in the conflict. Do you think that there is the possibility of any kind of resolution, perhaps even a negotiated one, coming out of that meeting?
The chances are remote because the Assad regime, when its forces are winning or certainly pushing rebels back, why should it accept a solution that would cost, its rule? On the other hand, the rebels are so divided that they are almost certainly going to fail to agree on common policy, and the West cannot persuade them.
All right, Deepak Tripathi from the University of Roehampton, thanks for your time.